that, I kind of compiled in my mind through the day. People were bringing up good little picks and things that reminded me. Camino behind that staking mechanism of Solana. Marinade is also within the staking mechanism of Solana. But then Pengu is that huge meme coin. And everyone was saying it was dead. It swooped all the way back up to its original highs. The NFTs, they have a lot of leverage in terms of loans out on them. But I mean, it's kind of a perfect design for chaos to the upside. A penguin going to blistering highs. I mean, it just sounds so aggravating that it's probably what's going to happen in my mind for some weird reason.
Well, but to Luca's credit, with Pengu, he's done something with that IP brand, that intellectual property brand, where it's not just like a token on the market that may pump, may not. They have major partnerships and integrations in the real world with their penguin, or with it, whatever the Pengu plushies.
It's like
or
a game. I have these products, and
they were selling at Walmart, but then they also have major players in terms of the corporate Wall Street type players that are involved also with Pengu.
These things.
I would not count it out. I mean, in fact, let's look at the chart real quick. Look at this.
I'll pull it up.
I mean, that's not that. I would not look at this as bearish. That looks like a pretty damn large. You got a bit of a bull flag there. You could consider this one massive bull flag here. I'm going to show you why I wouldn't. This target is, this is a massive. That's that's another 500% gain, 600% gain from there. I'd be a little more conservative on that because you kind of have a bull flag there, kind of, a bit of a bull flag there. But I would just be a little bit more realistic here and kind of draw this kind of like a falling channel. And watch this, watch what the momentum is on the breakout here, especially when it comes to this high here at 4.6 cents. Once it clears that, it's going to kind of be determined, in my opinion, on what the narrative broadly of the sentiment in the market is. There's a video that's going out tonight, 7 p.m. Everybody out here, go and watch it. Drop your comments down below on that video, because I'm giving a signal that a lot of people aren't watching, and it's going to be an overwhelming make it or break it signal for Bitcoin, and then exponential level for the altcoins if this signals flashes or not, and it's right on the cusp of flashing. So I don't want to say what it is. Go watch it at 7. It's about a 6 or 7 minute video. But this is this is generally looking bullish in my expectation of. I think we still have quite a ways up to go in the market.
Yeah. This is interesting. I wanted to I'm checking out John Percent's comment here in the live chat. Look at Bitcoin's monthly, 3-month, and yearly chart and see similar points where we were about pre-takeoff all the other times. We should maybe check into that on the fly, or
well, you know what came out. I know we were going to cover it. The FOMC meeting minutes.
Yes,
those came out, and it's. They just said most participants judged it likely appropriate to ease further at signaling likely rate cuts again, which I think all of us were expecting later this month. I think the FOMC meeting's around the 28th. If I'm not, I could be wrong there, but towards the end of the month, and then another rate cut potentially in December. But this is still, I'm kind of confounded about the situation we're in, because even you and I are like, yeah, get these rate cuts. Cool. We're going to pump the markets and money printing. But then it's also like, we just saw the hole that we're trying to dig ourselves out of from what happened from all the COVID money printing. And it just seems like bills are getting passed, that there's going to be $3, $4, $5, $6 trillion printed in the next several years. And it just means explosion in prices more. It's going to just decimate everybody that's not invested. But those of us that are investing, everybody here, I hope you have some money in the markets and you're not still sitting on the fence, because I think we're about to see some really interesting times here in the next 3 years with money printing, with AI, displacement of jobs, the breaking of old models. It's going to be very interesting. But what you got here?
Well, it was brought up in kind of the news flow earlier that Powell is going to be speaking tomorrow.
Yep.
And it looks like that is indeed the case. So we have this Powell speech highlight Thursday on economic events, 8:30 a.m. We have initial jobless claims coming out. and we have 8:30 a.m. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell speaking. And continue. We have a lot of data dropping at 8:30 tomorrow morning. I am definitely going to be closing the trading position before that time comes, because that's probably going to look pretty ugly. So
But you know what? You and I will probably be, if you want to come in just a touch earlier tomorrow, I don't know if you can, but we could probably, at least if it's not at 8:30, it'll be at 9. Oh, I can't. I have something in the morning tomorrow.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Dang it.
I was
Well,
gonna
I mean, I
say,
could be in early. I
in
can
the-
cover it live, and that's
I
going to
was
be
going to
some
talk about in the
crazy,
Discord. Yeah.
that's going to be some crazy movement on the markets tomorrow morning. So, um, markets cannot fail, or we have riots in the streets. The whole idea, I wanted to kind of back up to this. So we are looking at quant earlier, and it's based on, quant was trying to like plug into the existing baking as in infrastructure. And it's weird to see some projects, with so much more actual partnerships, and then others that have been building towards this for years that didn't get that same love or treatment. You know what I mean? It is an aggravating thing to see. I think, one lesson from the last market cycle is that even ridiculous things rise with the tide. Ridiculous boats that were poorly made rise within the tide as it rises. I think they're going to have their moment, but yeah, it's just about being patient enough to get to that moment, right? That's really what it feels like. And we're in that kind of eye of the storm, it feels like, Kelly, where there's so much bullishness going on constantly, massive announcements. I mean, Swift rolling out its checking
I'm
it
trying to
out.
see if they have I'm trying to find an updated sort of partnership flow or anything, because I've kind of been out of touch with what they have going on there. I'm trying to find some big integrations, and I'm not seeing any. And there could be. I'm not saying there isn't.
One play that they have going for them is the EU CBDC. And I think someone also mentioned it in the chat. So they do have like one option, or I mean, you'd hope they have more than one option, but I've seen this rolling around as a potential for quant to be able to get involved with. I'll pull you down and add this. So European Central Bank, 27 central banks released a update on phase 1 of digital euro platform. And there's mentions and kind of lore going on that quant is plugging into these European or UK based banks. It's just really hard to imagine that a private company is going to be allowed to benefit from a European central bank currency. That's where we're at, that point where our government's going to let private players, private blockchains, take advantage of that middleman processing
Well,
fee.
if it's the EU as well, I would think that there'd be a major amount of surveillance that was baked into how they're doing it.
And they'd be willing to do so. Quant would be like that. Quant's a great option for that, honestly. So maybe that is the play. Maybe that is the play that's just not being paid attention to. It's just the price action's been so flat over the past 3 years. It's come to the point where, maybe we need some more hard-sided verification that that's going to come in, because I've dealt with this here in the American financial overhaul lore too, with XRP, right? Like XRP was going to take over everything, Kelly. They are listed on the FedNow website. They're literally like, through a company called Volante, Ripple is literally listed on the FedNow website as being a part of the next version of how money is transferred. And it blows my mind that XRP's, I know the tokenomics are bad, but it's kind of maddening thinking about it not being the play after how much content after. It's so crazy. Like, look at this. We may as well show this. This is the FedNow website. Explore FedNow. You go into the Showcase Theater, and the main one that I, really found was intriguing in terms of crypto connections was Volante. I mean, obviously you have cool big ones like BNY Mellon, NASDAQ, and you have a lot, but this Volante with Volpay was where the juice was found. And they leverage Ripple the technology of Ripple to send transactions to and from, right? So this is where, and it was listed right here, like all it had to be was this. And so I'm on a FedNow future dollar map website. And then Ripple is listed right next to, Visa Direct, all these other things. It is kind of maddening to think that, the price action isn't going to be exponential, but it's kind of what we've found, right? And if that was the case, this is well put by Patton McCrotch. If it was the case, Chris Larson would quit dumping all that liquidity on the retail holders. And it might actually take off from that regard, but it's a weird time, Kelly. We're like coiling right under all-time highs, and people are wondering if it's the next big move. It's really the moment.
I mean, and this is the same time, remember, where we have Jerome Powell and, not only speaking tomorrow, which I think is just going to be, froth and volatility around nonsense. But I do think that there's going to be more cuts that come not only in the next meeting, but more likely than not in December as well. But also the expectation, as we're seeing global liquidity on the rise and gold just running away, that there is more to go in this market. I think the next major downside is going to be very scary because of the expectation of the 4-year cycle. But it's a tread with caution time right now. If you're not already positioned, if you're getting positioned, understand what your strategy is going into it, because there's going to be a lot of emotional moves that I think happen in this market in the next 3 months.
100%. I see you got this.
Well, don't go to that yet. I'm trying to add the thumbnail to the BitLab YouTube stream because I couldn't do it on here. So I'm talking to you while I'm also doing that at the same time.
Well, these are the times where, we're at the moment people are poking their project with a stick. They're wanting it to be the next big thing. They're wanting it to rise. A lot of these older projects, they've fallen slightly sick to inflationary pressure. There is that. And then there's other pressures happening internally, like Shiba Inu has a death of the ecosystem, has a death in movement, has a death in hype. Still sitting here at number 22. I actually think there's plenty of room to fall for Shiba Inu. I'm not going to be surprised if Chainlink continues to tick down the top 10 of crypto either. Hyperliquid, watching its growth and the amount of money that's made through transactional volume, boistering up companies like this, the revenue behind them is just unstoppable. I feel good about Chainlink because of that revenue absolutely skyrocketing. It looks like they're finally, that's the thing about Chainlink, is gotten the entire crypto ecosystem used to just a data oracle system that's just there for them. And, a lot of them paid to a degree, but they're actually turning on the full-fledged amount of CCIP fees now. And we're seeing that revenue go 300x increase, right? So that kind of action is what I want to see in this time frame. Let's go check out Chainlink's chart, actually. Saying it's fallen down. I want to see. And where is this trade? We're still alive on the trade. Look at this. We're gonna make it, Kelly. We're gonna make it. Woo! Got it. We got a round of applause. We're still alive here. Now let's go check out Chainlink. I want to go check it out. Bam. Bam. Because I feel like Chainlink's graph is actually quite healthy.
Dude, Chainlink is going to pop so hard when it goes.
I mean, this is very, very similar, just swooping motion that we saw originally here, right? The series of higher lows, and then you get that parabolic run up. This formation is very, very similar to our current scenario. So just seeing that swoop beginning, I'm liking it. And I liken it to this, right? Well, that could have been smoother, but
also, dude, that early part of your chart. No, early, all the way there. See that first, So right there, you have a bit of a run up, a sell off, a little smaller run up, sell off, a larger run up. Now go over to where the price action of what we're seeing right now. That looks like a giant accumulation before the run up. Now look at this last,
and that's a W pattern too, huh?
Yeah, but now look at that. That looks.
Oh my God, they're the same chart.
Launch, liftoff.
Dude, that's sick. That's literally like and you have to like go kind of look at the time frame in respect to where it was. That is absolutely incredible. Yeah, I mean, this is a nice setup for me. I'm cozy in it. I feel like it's undervalued, underappreciated. It's the underdog, and it's about to choose violence. That's what I feel like about Chainlink. You know, it is really how I feel about Chainlink.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just Chainlink, guys. You know, flip it back over to my chart real quick because and I've highlighted this quite a few times, but this move that we saw back in 2018 with this sort of symmetrical triangle, a run up, a sell off, a run up, a sell off, but this also is a huge sell off because we had the world shut down. But the shape is the same: run up, sell off, base, set. If you look at the cycle where we're at right now, look at these price actions: run up, sell off, base. Are we going to get another little washout or not? I don't know, because this was a black swan back here. So it's not just Chainlink that's sitting like that. I think that this goes back to my comments earlier about the alts kind of being a delayed exuberance because of all the capital going into Bitcoin and then kind of starting in ETH, but then the legislation changing the narrative around alts and what it could mean, and starting to see, I mean, you see some of the major players like Charles Hoskinson, even the guys from Constellation DAG, you see not Brad Garlinghouse, but many of these other players, Sergey Nazarov, that are in the halls of Congress, in the halls with legislators, hammering out legislation that's going to actually empower and not just choke off the development of what's happening in the blockchain ecosystem and how to get it integrated into our systems. Because it's not just like crypto money is a money-making thing that you can expect. No, this is the changing of the plumbing system of global finance, trade, commerce, and culture. All of those things combined. And so moving all these Web 2 into Web 3, meaning your Amazons, your government websites, your trade, everything that's happening is moving on to blockchain, which is actually it's going to increase profit margins because it means the money has a much larger margin. Because right now, if you got $100 million, this is the most basic case. You look at Bitcoin changed the game because you can send $100 billion to yourself and cost you like $1, right? Where you can't do that on US dollar because it's going to cost you a transaction fee, has to go through Swift and wirehouses and all these clearing houses. You have to pay these middlemen. It takes 2 weeks. Now it's like, and they also say, what do you need that for? Now with crypto, you're able to move these things at nearly the speed of light, and it's more efficient. You don't have to pay all these different trust arbiters out there. And it's changing the name of the game of commerce globally.
Yeah. We're having an interesting combo in the chat. Do I want to talk about this, Kelly? So, okay, extended cycles are based on what? No evidence of that so far. Want to discuss the concept? How about probable?
This? I'll give the most basic thing. Do you realize, you might not even know this, I just did the math the other day. Do you all realize, if you want to say the 4-year cycle, cool, it's the halving cycle, great. You have to at least also take the presidential election cycle that it happens to line up with the halving cycle. And also the fact that early on, there was a narrative created around the halving cycle because everybody attributed the sell-off a year after because of the halving cycle. Supply, you get the exuberance, supply shock, and then the sell-off because you have over speculation and hype in the market. But that was in 2013, back when people were getting 50 Bitcoin per block. Currently, people are getting 3.125. That's a 93% reduction. Again, 93% reduction in the inflation rate on Bitcoin. Kelly, Bitcoin doesn't have inflation. Well, first off, reverse your statement there, find some humility and realize that Bitcoin does have inflation, except it reduces by half every 4 years over time. Where do you think these miners are getting paid from? Inflation. They're getting a block reward for competing and winning the right to mine that block. Right now, the inflation rate is 3.125 Bitcoin per block. There's one block every 10 minutes, roughly. So the inflation rate on Bitcoin has reduced 93%. And you're telling me that the halving has to always 100% always happen in terms of the way the 4-year cycle's running? I don't believe it.
Yeah. And there's so many interesting comments. Keep your comments going about what you think, because this question matters for all of our bags, right? I want to go back up, and this is an interesting thought from Mickey V. saying that the market is delayed by about 3 months from tariffs, borders, the Fed, and the Middle East. Calling it easy, guys. And there's a lot to be said about, the pressure from the current administration on the Federal Reserve. There's also data of the longest, basic ranging at previous all-time highs ever in Bitcoin's history. There's Bitcoin dominance lasting longer than we've ever seen before, and then finally showing a little bit of a breakdown, which we've seen over the past month. Been okay. Hasn't been amazing, not over the moon for altcoins, but it's been okay. But that went longer than we've ever seen. Now, Kelly, the 4-year cycle, I'm really hard pressed to break away from a general upswing and downswing from election cycles, from all the things that you excellently put just recently a minute ago. But in terms of anything changing within the 4-year cycle, I feel like the downturn is going to be less for Bitcoin. Like, is there anything about the 4-year cycle that you see is going to be different now that we're dealing with the current setup?
Well, there's one thing I want to make clear. Me thinking, and I could be entirely wrong. This is why we have these conversations. Even some of us here in this office, Discover Crypto, we don't exactly align on every topic, but that's why we have these conversations. We all have to navigate our money and our portfolios the way we best see fit, and where we're okay with taking risks and okay with, don't want to take that risk. And 4-year cycle is not a narrative I would completely ignore, because although I don't think it's going to play out the same way, I do still think we're going to get a pretty decent pullback that's going to scare people and convince them that that's the 4-year cycle taking over again. And so I think, much like you said, and Ivan on tech said it as well, I don't think we're going to get the 70. I don't think we're going to get over 70% drawdown in the next 3 to 5 years, because we're getting an exponential increase in adoption from major institutional players. We're seeing not just our hope, we're seeing on chain a difference, a growth of sophistication and the type of holders that are out there. The exponential move that we've seen in wallets that are accumulation wallets, meaning these are wallets that we know when Bitcoin goes in them, they hold it for multiple years or longer. They're not trading. And institutional players coming in, corporate treasuries, they're not trading these assets. They are stacking long-term. So you're removing a great deal of supply from exchanges to trade, and having retail have less of an impact on this hype and fear, swings in the market. And meanwhile, you also have big players that, if they do see, you see stock market drop 20%, that's a buy signal for traditional asset players. So once the market drops 15, 20, 30% in crypto, I see a huge amount of bullish anchors in the space that are going to be defending levels in the charts, because they're going to see that as a great opportunity. They're not going to be looking for an 85% pullback and then they get in. So while we are going to get a pullback, maybe even later this year or early next year, I would hesitate just to sell everything at what top you think it is going to be, and then try to buy something that's below a 65% or, above a 65% drawdown, because you might get left holding the bag and the market moving against you.
Yeah. These are things to think about. Now, Kelly, if you want, you can go over all your stories. I can run the chat and ban anyone that needs to be banned. If you got some things you want to cover here.
I got a couple of things I want to cover, and I got some charts I want to run over with everybody. But first question with Drew and I here, we're trying to change it up a little bit with what we're doing with the show flows here on Discover Crypto. We want to make sure you all get the best content throughout the day, and also do some group partnership streams like we're doing today, where Drew starts it. We join for a while and then I take over. So he has a bit, we do it together, and then I have a bit, and then also have our evening content. Do you guys like this format? Let us know, because we want to make sure you like it as well. But we just want to keep it going and give you everything that we can.
Because we care so much.
You are banned!
That's right, Zach Nasty. I care so much about you. I see you in the chat. All right, take the wheel. Kelly, take the wheel. Let's see what you got.
Take the wheel. All right, everybody. Well, we got some big stuff. We talked about the FOMC meeting minutes that came out earlier. What are these? This is when they're discussing at the FOMC meeting, like they did a couple weeks ago, where we got the rate cut. What was actually discussed? Not what was the result that they told us. What was discussed during the meeting? And basically there was, the majority of them there were saying it's appropriate to continue doing some easing. If you want to actually see a bit more of what they talked about, you can come up here, type in FOMC meeting minutes, and you'll see that, they agree. Policy, ease the policy a bit more in 2025. This means it's more liquidity. This is bullish. But we also have some other people in here that also say majority emphasize upside risks for inflation outlook. But I feel like the governments are kind of generally giving us a tongue-in-cheek, we care about this, but at the same time, they don't care about it because they're still passing bills that are only going to result in more money printing. So I think this is not going to be the focus as much as they want to say that it is, because they want to make sure that these markets continue higher and that liquidity isn't so constrictive, because we're seeing a lot of conflicting reporting around the labor market. As we saw, it was pretty strong, and then all of a sudden they revised it down 1 million jobs. So I do think they're trying to make sure people have jobs regardless of if there's inflation. So this is going to be generally good for people that are investing. Those of you here in Bitcoin and crypto and even, stock market, S&P 500, this is going to be positive for the forward-looking outlook on the market. Then, of course, we got to talk about Poly market. I don't know if you covered this, Drew, but this came out right before I think you were already live, but the world's largest crypto prediction platform, Poly market, now lets users deposit Bitcoin directly. So this is nice that they're kind of broadening the different crypto rails that they're using there. I do think this is going to be bullish. In my opinion, if you want to go and bet your Bitcoin on a Poly market bet, then I'm not going to make a comment there. I think no matter what Bitcoin you will.
Don't give them your Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right?
USDC, come on now.
Yeah, of course. But this is, just more headlines as well. And remember, Poly Market just had a major deal with New York Stock Exchange. ICE basically took a $2 billion position in Poly Market. So this really goes to the Wall Streetification of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is, and crypto in general, is permeating through all financial halls of power that matter globally right now.
Hold on. Wait a minute.
Oh, Byron Hardy, what's up?
Come on now. Thank you very much for the gifted memberships for Kelly's channel, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, shout out. Big love to you. And shout out to everybody here. By the way, when you guys are here, I'm curious, where is everybody tuned in from? Let me know what city and state or what city and country you are tuned in from. Let's see if we have any groups of people in areas we didn't even know you were there. I'd love to see where everybody's tuned in from, because sometimes you don't even realize. I've been in this market for 10 years, and back then I could not even connect with anybody that talked about Bitcoin and crypto and all these things, because there was nobody else doing it anywhere near me until we started seeing these little communities pop up across the internet. And then it's like, oh, wait, you live down the street from me. So it's always good to know where other brothers and sisters are at. So
while we're on the location thing, I'm in Georgia. I'm looking for heavy metal artists. Okay. I'm putting the band back together. So if you're out there playing metal, let me know. I'm getting back. But back to you, Kelly.
Yeah, guys, B&B has been on a tear. Holy moly. And check this out. If you haven't heard of it yet, B&B season, CZ has been I just got off of space on the Mario Nafal team channel, where we were talking about this major explosion in the B&B price. It went up to, I think, over $1,300. And we're also seeing on Deck Screener, all the top coins were basically Binance Smart Chain coins, B&B coins, which is fantastic. And not only that, it's up nearly 50% in the last 30 days, pushing its year-to-date gains to a massive 86%. For comparison, the next major, which is ETH, hasn't even done half of that. So while some people might say, I'm going to get out of ETH, I'm going to get out of Solana, I'm going to go get into B&B. In this way, I want you to know I am not hating on B&B, but I want you to realize, I don't want to say you've missed this boat, but this doesn't mean these other chains are dead. In a lot of ways, what we've seen in different parts of the market cycle is when a niche really heats up. In this case, B&B is heating up, and we're seeing massive gains there. One, it's showing us that there's a huge amount of liquidity in the space that maybe, I covered this about 2 weeks ago on the Discover Crypto 4 p.m. streams, that there was over $308 billion in stable coins that were basically a huge portion of that was sitting basically in dry powder, meaning it was sitting as a stable coin. It wasn't, sitting in a wallet ready to be deployed, AKA dry powder. And so when you now see this massive explosion in BNB, this doesn't make me fret, doesn't make me sad that ETH isn't doing it or Solana's not doing it or the base ecosystem. Why aren't they running? I say, oh, okay, they're taking their turn. I'm going to find the assets in these other chains. If I'm not in BNB, I'm going to find assets in these other chains that might be able to follow the same paths because they're hot. I see you dipping your finger up there. What you got there? You
well, I mean, it's just spot on. It's people are impatient when they see one thing pumping, they'll dump a bag that hasn't pumped yet to go chase the pump. Then the pullback on what just pumped happens. They, get out of it because they feel like they made a mistake and they just continue to cut their gains down in that regard. It's something that will take the interest away from trading. And I think what you're saying there is very, very important, right? Don't go chasing waterfalls. I'll get copyright strike. I'd play the song, but I'd play the song right now if I could.
Yeah, and I do think that BNB is going to have a little bit more of a run because we saw this happen this afternoon as well. CZ also further launched a $1 billion fund with this family office, which is basically a smaller investment brokerage, right? $1 billion to back long-term builders on BNB chain. So just continuing that positive PR campaign that he is doing for Binance and Aster and basically what's happening within the BNB ecosystem. But again, we're seeing some major things out there in the rest of the market. Remember where we're at on this others chart. This is everything outside the top 10. We've been here before where it was over only to slingshot way to the upside. In this case, we are very similar spot right now. So let's look at a couple of these before we wrap this one out because we got Ethereum. Look, we forget because ETH didn't just explode in the last couple of days. This is a weekly chart. You've heard it before. I'll say it again. When in doubt, zoom out. You are bearish when we have a macro bull flag going on right now. Look at this macro bull flag here where target that is going to just melt the face off of Jimmy Pants here up to $9,000. Now, will that happen? I don't know. I don't know if we'll only hit 6. But the point here is this is showing a momentous setup that is more likely to have a strong continuation to the upside. That's what I'm focused on here. So that's a weekly. Let's get down to the 4-hour and see what it looks like. Okay, well, we pushed up. Oh my God, we broke out of a multi-year trend line and it's having some testing of the strength back down before it moves, looking like a absolute Wyckoff accumulation, basically a spring here coming up, consolidation before the next move up and slingshot higher. I'm seeing higher from here. Even if we get another small washout down, yes, this would be small from 4,500 down into the $4,200 range. It would not be over. But what we're seeing right now is the shakeout of the hope and fear in the market because we see this in the liquidity. People are still far too exuberant about what's happening. They get far too hyped about either direction. And then you come over here and look at the ETH to Bitcoin pairing and realize it's just kind of just been hovering. It's just been waiting to take its turn. Now, when we get on some other coins that we've been talking about on this channel for quite some time, Aerodrome, in my opinion, is in a pretty good position right now, kind of at this intermediary point where you could get another bit of a wash down, which I think would be an astronomically good opportunity because we're kind of hovering right on that trend line as we speak. And if we look at Morpho, the reason why I say that, look at Morpho. Morpho is super bullish looking midterm, long-term, but you had a very similar structure on Morpho right here where it kind of had this rising channel, just like this. It did break down, came back, rejected, very similar to what we're seeing right here. Could this break down a bit here? I don't know. But I'm feeling like there's enough bullishness in the market that we'll likely see another bit of a rip people's faces off of fear before we make a move. If this is able to hold here, great. I'm already stacked. If it continues up, finds some support and works its way up, great. We've already been stacking, right? And then the other one, AV&T, a lot of people asking about this because Yeezy Labs, also behind the investment on Aster, one of the investors. But Avantis also has Peter Thiel involved, which I'm not a huge fan of, but big money player aligned with big money people. Also Coinbase Ventures investing in this, also Yeezy Labs. And you see this, I posted this in the Discord earlier. But look at this. On the 1 hour chart, the RSI has never been lower, meaning it's never been this oversold when it came down on this dip. The money flow, this is basically at all-time lows for money flow as well, meaning we are at a level with the price action also breaking out of what should be a bullish formation. Kelly, falling wedges break bullish. But what have I been telling you all on this channel and on the BitLab channel for the last 3 years? This market is so primed with where it's going in a bullish posture that although this pattern tends to break bullish, what we're seeing more often than not is it comes down and traps people down, comes up in, and then you make the move like that. And the fact that we just did that and hit the lowest RSI reading we've ever seen, and this is coming right into a level that we've already had highlighted here on the chart, bottom side of this level of support right in here. We saw what Aster did. The question is Avantis also going to take a turn? I don't know. I took a swing long position in this about a week ago or so. I am below my entry, and so I'm not recommending any of you get this, but if you were to get in, you'd be in a better position than I was. You have to make that determination yourself. Eigenlayer also. We talked about this about 2 weeks ago. Am I on the wrong chart here? There we go. Let me go over here. I got too many different windows. Where is Eigenlayer?
It's been looking pretty juicy lately. And drop your comments on the project that's, the most bullish in your portfolio. That's nice.
Look at that. They just had some major partnership developments as well. And what did I just say about the fake outs? This is a bullish pattern. Rising level of support, flat level of resistance. These tend to break up this way. Okay. What did it do? It did go up, trapped people long that were too exuberant, and then it washed people out by failing this pattern. But nope, that's a trick, came right back. So we're seeing the fake outs in real time here. Trap up, trap down, back to equilibrium, and then the move happens. So even if this were to come back and test this line, that would be a higher low. You'd also be confirming this trend line. But as it stands right now, the RSI, look at this, right at the 50 line, right there. Money flow is trying to suck it down, and it's holding as it stands at the moment. But this is one of those assets I'd be keeping my eyes on. Avalanche making some moves today. Look at that nice little happy candle. Nice little happy candle right there. But where did it go? Only right up to where these previous range lows were. You see this? It's funny how you don't know how high it's going to bounce. And then you look left on the chart and you're like, oh, it gave me a roadmap right there. So the question is going to be on any pullback here on a smaller time frame, on any pullback, can this maintain? I would say probably above, like about right here, because this would also maintain a higher low. See, if this were to come down right in this region, this would just be testing that neckline, be a higher low, and then make its way back to the upside. But I'm very excited about what we got going on in this market right now, Drew. I mean, we're getting the liquidity conditions are suggesting more liquidity is coming in.
Well, the sentiment is down. Look at the sentiment. It's horrible. Look at their sentiment. While they're all-time highs. These people, where's this? And drop me your comments down. I love all of these comments. I leave all the angry ones. I love all the comments. There's this Martin Brown 295. This freaking market is so rigged against everybody. What a bunch of bull. There's a lot of blue balls feelings out there. There's a lot of impatience out there. If, and I want to hear from you guys to hear where your head's at so we can address these live on the show. Yeah. It's all over the place. Like the fear and greed is at like 60, 50. I feel like we got higher just from that.
Well, I'm curious with everybody watching live right now. We're live across YouTube, on Discover, on Blockchain Basement, on BitLab Academy, on MyX, on YourX, we're everywhere right now. So we got people tuned in on all these channels. We got 4,339 people watching. Shout out to each and every one of you. Do us a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. But most importantly, I'm curious, I want everybody to drop one coin in the chat right now. Every single one of you. So I should see 4,343 people right now drop in. What's one coin you wish that we talked about more? Or maybe we don't at all. Put it on our radar. Make us realize we're not giving you what you want. Maybe we'll tell you why that coin sucks. Or maybe you'll put it on our radar and we end up making millions.
There's all kinds of good ones. Yeah. There's all kinds of good. And one that we forgot to look at, Kelly, Camino, I've looked at it. I already felt good about it from the structural. Can you, before I know we're giving a little bit extra here, but would you mind taking your gander at Camino to see what you see in it? Because all I see is the structural application of Solana ETFs getting approved for staking and then chaos following for the mechanisms that cause staking on Solana. So what is your opinion of this project?
Well, here's the Camino chart. This is it. We're going to do a lot of excessive TA on here. What we see is, no, I'm just joking. This is a weekly chart. I'm totally razzing you. Let's get it down to like the 4 hour. So we actually have some, so this looks like the excitement, initial speculative pump, a sell-off, and then the rise back up. I mean, so in this case, this also, if I had to guess, this tracks with the recent hype boom that we had, the sell-off, and then coming back up. And this is what we're talking about, right, Camino?
I think that it might be a different one because the one I have in mind is KMNO. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that must have been just that exchange history then, probably. That makes sense.
Is there an older one? I bet there is. Not on. Let me look on. Here we go. Let's go here.
Right here on.
There we go. There we go. Coinbase always has the youngest charts because they.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
I mean, this looks like it's kind of what I like to look for is a general shape. What do I mean by that? Come over here to the lines and go on the line chart and notice that what we're seeing here is the close of every candle. And what we're noticing here is it's kind of melting to the downside. And then the bull's taking over here. So that's the kind of general shape I'm seeing. Now, when we're looking at this with candles themselves, let's go to Heikinashi to see where the sort of the volume, where the volume per candle is also giving you a better indication of what's taking charge here. And in this case, nice bullish impulse up, larger bullish impulse up, a washout down, but this is a higher low. So I love that. And this is now, higher low, higher low, higher low. But we do have a lower high here. Again, the market from middle of September to where we're at now, the market was pumping, and now we're getting a little weakness in the market. It makes sense. I wouldn't say that this is a lower high. It has to break down from here. I'm thinking about this in the context of the broader market. But let's get to a little bit smaller time frame and see if we actually have a bit more. Okay. So what I'm seeing here immediately, I'm looking at the lows on the RSI. So we had a low there, option V. We had another low here, and then another one here, and another one right here. So now I'm going to look up at the price action and see this was a setup before this move up. This was kind of a front running that it was getting a little too oversold, and then it washed out a bit further, but we finally formed a bullish formation with the W pattern here. See that?
Yeah.
W. Yep. This also marked where the price action moved to the upside. So on this case, I'm a little hesitant to be bullish in the near term on this, because if you're just looking at these price actions right here, this is a bit of a rising broadening wedge. This might get a bit more of a pump, but this tells me we may have another bit of a kind of a swing down before it launches up. But there's not really a lot of history on this. I think this is going to go where the narrative goes. And if the market, for instance, if Bitcoin was $135,000 tomorrow and ETH was 5,200, I don't see this dropping. I see this bouncing here and moving up. So some of these smaller cap coins, regardless of the pattern, if the market shift into the bulls in the market generally shift in a much bullish posture, you might disregard some bullish setups on those smaller cap coins.
Yeah. And some of the muting, I think, when you do your charting, you got to look at this. Token inflation is part of the deal here. But it is number 196 in terms of size of market cap, $229 million. So I look at it as a high risk, high reward type scenario. You know what I mean? Still, but I think staking on Solana will come.
Let's do Plume. Let's do Plume to close this one out.
All right. Yeah, let's do it. I was kind of afraid to ask you. I didn't know how much time you have, but let's check it out.
Well, we got time for the family because this is the Discover family, baby. The Blockchain Basement family, the BitLab family. We are doing this together. So let's see what the hell lines I have drawn on this chart, because we were kind of exploring some different possibilities here. Let's go to the regular candles here. Are we on? Okay, cool. So we had a bit of a falling wedge-ish, kind of a falling channel, but it does pinch down a bit. Just like that. So boom, boom, boom. It's interesting. Look right where it went to, which also happens to be where this previous range high was. And it sucked right back down. But Plume just got I forget what it's called, not a brokerage license, a custodian's license here in the US. The SEC approved them, which gave them that big pump the other day. and we are seeing a bit of a sell-off from that.
I think we're waiting for like final verification of that, but that was the news and kind of the hype that caused that candle you're highlighting. Absolutely.
Yeah. But look, this is what I'll look for anybody. Again, if you're not familiar with me, welcome to the Thunderdome. What I look for is the price action, right? But everybody looks at that. Don't look at the price. The price is irrelevant. You want to look at what the formation of the patterns are. The price just gives you a data point. And then from this, you look down to whatever combination of data signals you use. I keep it basic for the streams. I use a lot different stuff when I'm trading myself, but it's all rooted in the RSI and the money flow. What's the relative strength and what is the money saying about the situation? So in this case, negative money flow here. And yet the RSI, yes, it sold off, but I see the RSI bouncing here right about this 50 line in that 50 line region, meaning although this sold off dramatically, it stayed in the strength territory here with the RSI being above 50. Now, does that mean it's going to stay there? No, it can, it may not. But as it stands right now, this is it's trying to maintain a bullish posture. If this comes down and the RSI loses this, then I'm expecting this to take a bit further of a leg to the downside. What that looks like, I'm not sure, because this market just feels so contentious between the bullish and the bearish narrative.
Yeah.
I just be patient here. I expect Plume to do very well throughout the remainder of this cycle, though.
Love it. Love it. Well, let's get them wrapped up. And Kelly, excellent show. I'll hand it to you to finish it off, and I'll kind of run the back end. But everyone in the chat, drop your comments. Let us know your projects you need to look at. Markets are getting feisty. I'll send it to you, Kel.
Oh, absolutely. I do just want to remind everybody, make sure you're looking long-term. Make sure you're doing the smartest things with how you're navigating, because a 15, 20, 30% difference now and the moves you're making could be a multi-million-dollar difference down the line. So that's one of the reasons why we partner with Bitcoin IRA. Make sure, excuse me, make sure that you head over to bitcoinira.com, give them, check out, you could trade up to 80 different crypto altcoins there. And if you're rotating your altcoins into Bitcoin long-term holdings, you can do that and also not take the major, short-term holder gains, tax hits that you'd be doing. Give them a call. They'll get you all set up. I think they have some deals for our users as well. I also have a Spaces I'm doing tomorrow with a couple other major players in the ecosystem. I also have Chris Klein, one of the founders of Bitcoin IRA. It's going to give us some deeper alpha on what's going on in the big money aspect of this market as well. But you can give them a call at 1-877-936-7175. But just keep your head about you guys, because these markets are getting very exciting. When we come back over here to the total 3 chart, we're really fighting to get this into that next leg. What is that next leg I'm talking about? That next leg is that part of the parabola right here. Sometimes the screens are too small to where you really get that melt to the upside. Essentially, like right in here, when this really starts melting to the upside. When you look at the other chart, that's been consolidating into the same zone, Although this is much higher, I do still think we've got quite a ways up to go in this market, especially with all the stablecoin and smart contract and RWA integrations that we're seeing, with the massive growth in the long-term holders, with the massive growth in capital treasuries coming into corporate treasuries coming into crypto. That's the word I'm looking for. And then also the base ecosystem, guys, what the base ecosystem is doing with Brian Armstrong, being on Capitol Hill on a daily basis, talking about positive legislation, what they're doing with Arrow, what they're doing, their ties also with Morpho, what they're doing, potentially with Avantis, which is also part of the base ecosystem. Keep your eyes on what has been working throughout the other parts of the crypto ecosystem and where players are actually set up to really have big impact, not only with corporate money that's involved, but also with DC. I think that's going to be a good front runner for what the roadmap is looking forward in this market.
Base tick. Love and appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all on the next.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the